Hello everyone, welcome back to the workshop. Another episode for you. And on the bench today, I've got a pretty nice guitar actually. You can see it here. It's a Seagull Entourage and it is the rustic version. Maybe give you a view from up above there. Nice looking guitar, and if I read the specs correctly, it is a solid cedar top with cherry. Can you see that? Very nice looking guitar. It's a matte finish guitar too, but cherry back and sides. It's laminated back and sides, solid top. So it is a solid top guitar. It's got a pretty good sound to it, all that kind of stuff. And a couple of things we're going to do on this guitar, and you can see I kind of got some stuff out in preparation because I knew I was doing the video for this one, but the guitar is getting new strings. Customer supplied the strings. They are the Elixir Phosphor Bronze, and they're lights 12 to 53. And I do like these strings, so it's going to be getting new strings. The other thing that was provided to me by the customer, this guitar does not have a pickup, and he wanted one installed and asked if I would do that. So it looks like we've got something by Fishman, and sorry, I'm looking at a monitor screen here and it's reverse of what I need to do to show it to you. I'll figure this camera thing out yet, but it's a Fishman and it looks like the ISIS Plus, so pretty decent electronics. I've got a guitar with this exact pickup in it, interestingly enough, so that's going to help in getting some measurements, because we got to cut for this pickup. We'll have to cut a couple of holes, one in the butt end of the guitar here, and then another on the side over here for the controls, because the pickup is two pieces. Might be easier for you to see if I just stick it on the overhead. The pickup's in two pieces. This is the output jack with the battery box, and then the actual pickup unit. So I think first thing we're going to do, here's the piece. Like I said, we'll have to make a hole on the rear of the guitar and on the side of the guitar. We'll also have to drill through the saddle slot. So we'll measure and find a drill bit for that. But I think first order of business, I think I'm going to put a battery in this, and we're going to test this pickup and just make sure that it works like it should. I've got a battery here, so let's see if it's got designation plus and minus on the inside. Yep. So plus is on that side. So battery would go that way. So let's plug these guys in. And then we'll plug it into the amp and make sure it all works. So there's that, all plugged in together. Plug it into the amp. Turn the amp on, get a little screwdriver. Thought I had a little screwdriver laying around. Put it away. And see if we got anything. And I don't know if maybe you can hear that. Let me see if I can turn the volume up. Does work. So we're in good shape there. Excuse me, still battling this cough a little bit, but I am feeling much better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain a little bit of what I'm going to do here, and then I'm probably going to pause the camera, and then I'm going to make a little template. There's screws and stuff and all of that we're going to need. The other thing I'm going to do before I pause you, we're going to take some initial measurements off of this guitar, because the one thing he did want was a good setup. So I need to see where everything is now, see if we need to make any adjustments on anything. So but what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my calipers and I'm going to take some measurements, because we have to cut a hole. So this will go down in, slide down in the guitar. I'm going to mount that. Can you see? I'm going to mount that somewhere in here, like so, and then the other piece will get mounted back. Let me see here. If I could show you this piece here, will get mounted somewhere back in that part of the rear end of the guitar here. So we need to take some measurements and make a template. I've got some poster board out. I'm going to make a template for what I need for an exact, precise fit for this that I can actually set on the guitar and make a pencil lines and all that kind of stuff. And then I'm going to use the Dremel tool with cutting. Got a cutting wheel on there, and do most of the cutting with that, and then I have some files and chisels and other things, and we'll do some final fitting there. So that'll be fun. I've got a little notebook here, and I do this on a lot of guitars just so I don't forget stuff. Let's see, there's 10 thou. See if I can find the 18, so we can check the first fret action. You think I'd be a little more organized with these things, but especially the ones I use all the time. Alright, so again, for the first fret action is measure, the way I do it anyway, is I measure from the top of the first fret to the bottom of the string, and this is an 18 thousandths feeler gauge. And that actually feels really good. So yeah, we don't need to do anything there. That feels really good at the first fret. So Seagull got that one on the money. But let's check neck relief. Once I get the strings off, I'll probably just put a wrench in there and tweak the truss rod just to make sure it moves. And all of that on that. You watched me on that Fender bass, and that thing hadn't been checked in forever, and man, that truss rod was so tight. I mean, I really thought I was going to break it. That's not bad. It's right at 10 thou, and both sides are balanced pretty well. Sometimes, and I mentioned this in that video on the bass, sometimes you'll get one, like I don't want to say most of the time, a lot of times when I'm doing this measuring, the high end of the guitar, the high end meaning the high string, the high E, is tighter than on the low side, and so typically I set it and just let the other side ride, but you kind of have to balance it and all that. You don't want stuff to buzz, so I'm going to go with my typical numbers here, and that's pretty good. It's right at about 10 thou. First fret action was at 18, and that was all good. Next thing I'm going to do is just measure string height, and I do that at the 12th fret on acoustic guitar. Strat is measured at 17th, so if you're doing electric guitar. And what I like to see is on the low E string, I like to see about 5 64s, and on the high E string 4 64s, so 5 and 4. Some, and again, that's one of those things that's just personal preference. A lot of the vendors, you know, Gibson and, I don't know, I didn't look up spec for Seagull, but I know Gibson recommends 6 on the low E string. This is at 4. Let's see if I can count here. 4, 5, 6, 7. This is just above 7. And 4, just above 6. So what I'm going to do in my notebook, I'm going to write 7, and I'm going to put 7.5 and 6.5 because that's where it is. Now we've got with the pickup, we've got that, it's got that under saddle transducer, or whatever you want to call it, the actual pickup piece that it's the under saddle style. So that's going to add some thickness underneath the saddle. So we are going to have to take some off the saddle, but we can do some measuring. I'm bound and determined to put a scratch on this guitar, so I haven't done it yet, but that's twice now that I banged it. Let's see if we can get a thickness on this. I'm in millimeters. Let me reset to inches. And see, all you guys that want to fuss about doing, and I'm just going to rant for a second here, you know, all you guys that want to fuss about, oh, you got to measure in 64s and all of that kind of stuff. Well, when I measure with the calipers, it's in thousandths of inches. So now I have to convert. So I'm measuring to get a thickness, and I've got about 65, 66 thou. 60, yeah, about 66 thou. So now, because if I measure the string height in thousandths of inches, then I can just do the math and it's simple. But you know, so there's a reason for you guys to, you know, take a breath and learn how to measure things in thousandths of inches, because you know it's way easier to do the math that way. So, all right, 66 thou. I'm going to write that in the notebook as well, just so I have it for the pickup. Under saddle, and 66 thou. All right, so that's going to give me that measurement. And what I'm going to do is kind of set this stuff to the side here. And then, like I said, I've got another guitar. Just so happened that I've got another guitar. This is a Fender, it's a California series Sonoran. I think I mentioned having this in the other video. Well, it's got the same pickup in it. It's got this Fishman pickup. I mean, they branded it for Fender, so you know it actually says Fender on it. But I think I'm going to measure, as far as placement, I'm going to measure, because this is a Dreadnought guitar. The one I have is a Dreadnought guitar, just like the Seagull. So I think I'm going to measure. I borrowed one of these flexible ruler things from my wife in her sewing room, and I think what I'm going to do is measure on the guitar I have from the neck around and get a measurement, and that'll be where I do a placement here. And then I'll do the same thing on the butt end from the tail pin. I'll measure over this way, and that way I'll know where the edge of this needs to be, and I can take some measurements off the back side because there's plastic, whatever. But I'll do some measuring and taping. I've got my tape and my poster board and all of that. So I'm going to make some templates and draw some lines and all of that. And when I get ready to cut the holes in this guitar, I will bring you back. I'm going to also go ahead and take these old strings off, get that stuff out of the way. And as I mentioned, I'm going to take the wrench and do a little tweak on that truss rod. I'll just probably loosen it off and put it right back where it was, and then we should be in good shape there, just to make sure it's not locked up. So let me do that. I'm going to pause you. When I come back, I'll show you how I have everything laid out and ready to cut, and I'll bring you along for that. Let me, maybe from the overhead might be a good way to show you here. You can see I've got some blue tape, and I used magic marker, so I used a real thin black marker to make a line there. So you can kind of see, again, I measured, I got some poster board and just made a template. This is the one for here. Transferred measurements, made a center, found center and marked it, all that kind of stuff, so it'll be straight and center. And the tape's not straight, so it's kind of ends up being an optical illusion, but you kind of have to go by the measurements are correct. And I've double checked, triple checked all of that. The other thing we have to do is we got to find the right sized drill bit and see what I got in my stash here. Now I'll just grab one. This won't be the right size, but I can at least show you. I'm gonna have to drill a hole there in the saddle on this end. So I'll drill a hole through there with the right size drill bit so that the pickup can come up and through. There's no shim or anything under here, which is good. There shouldn't be. So just a little dust or something in there. So like we're in good shape there. But I'll find the right size drill bit and kind of bring you along for that. Like I said, I'm going to take the biggest majority of that. I've got the Dremel tool set up with I've just got a cutting disc, and I'm going to cut inside my lines, and which probably means the piece won't go in the hole first, but right away. But I'd rather start a little snug and work my way there with files or chisel or whatever I need to on that. So let me see if I can. I'm going to go ahead and let the camera run on, at least on this one, and because this one, the guitar can kind of stand up here and I can see, and hopefully I'm not going to block you by, that's my goal, is to do this kind of so you can see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the disc, and I'm going to cut inside my line, just a little bit inside the line, and then again I'll use chisels and files and all of that to finalize the fit. So let me plug in the Dremel, we'll get that going, and like I said, I'll just let this run, and if it comes out, you'll see it in the video. If not, I'll edit it down and just come back and explain to you what I did. So here we go. Okay, so you can see there, and I'm well inside my lines. I am going to have to figure out, I'll maybe take a small, I've got like a coping saw blade or a scroll saw blade or something and get that out, but that's kind of the drill, no pun intended, I guess, with the Dremel. Get most of that out of there. Let me work on cleaning it up and getting it how it needs to be, and I will bring you back and kind of show you once I get the biggest chunk out of here. Man, I'll try to bring you back for some of the cleanup and fitting with the files and stuff like that, and let you at least see that part of a little bit of that maybe. So I'm going to pause you and be right back with you. Okay, welcome back. I've got a hole, a butt end of the guitar, and a hole in the side of the guitar here. And as I predicted, I've done a little bit of work on this one without you. This one is just kind of harder for me to get to, but it mostly is there. Like I said, I worked on it a little bit. It's just ever so slightly. I've got it good on these edges. It's these edges here, and I've got a bunch of files here, and that's basically what I'm doing, is just filing the edges flat. And again, if you like that sound, it makes you one of those weird people, I guess, that but if you're going to do guitar work, you're going to have a lot of that sound going on. And I'd rather do this final fitting by hand, not take a chance on doing any damage to the guitar. But I don't really need much. I'm gonna just barely do what I need. Just keep fitting and keep fitting until this. I've got just barely this little part of the connector here that doesn't want to go. I need to just keep working that edge a little bit. Both edges, I'm trying to keep it even because I did all that measuring, so I don't want to get too far off. A little bit of a raised spot there in the corner, just taking that down a little bit. And it doesn't take much. The files are, again, with this being and it is laminated. Look at the pieces that came out. You can definitely tell that it's basically a plywood. Can you see? This is what came out. It's basically ply, but you can't see it because of the lighting. Let me. What if I switch maybe to a different camera? Yeah, let's see if you can see this here, and that's the laminated, the cherry that's on the back and the sides. It's just a real thin laminate that's over the top of the plywood back and sides. So but majority of your sound comes out of the top anyway, so the fact that this guitar has a solid top is very important. And it's cedar, so it'll give a little bit different sound than a spruce top would. that's why you need to go play, you know, if you're going to buy a guitar, and I bought guitars online, but I pretty much played all of these guitars, so I know what they sound like and know what I'm getting, all that kind of stuff. And this does take, at least the way I do it, I mean, other people probably have better techniques and faster and all that kind of stuff, but this is just going to take time for me to file on this and get this to fit. So you kind of, I've kind of showed you the drill on that. I've got to do the same thing for the one up here. What if I show you on the overhead? You can kind of see I have the shape of it. Okay, so you can see it's got the corners are angled. So I have the shape, it's just I need to extend it out. So, you know, all the way around, I just need to keep filing and filing until I want it to barely fit down in there. So that's what I'm going to spend a little bit of time doing, and once I get to that point, I will bring you back. So I'm going to pause this again, and I'm just going to keep using the file until these things fit, and once they fit in, I'll bring you back and we'll try to finish this up. Well, welcome back. I've been away from you for quite a while actually, but made a good amount of progress. I got this guy here. Let me just show you. There's the fit on that. I got to put some screws in it yet, but there's the fit on that. Looks really nice. And let me put the one in the other end, and I'll flip you around to that end of the guitar so you can see that one fits really nice as well. There's that. So both pieces fitting really well. So I'm going to go ahead and drill some pilot holes for the screws and get the wiring put together here inside the guitar, or hooked together, I guess. And then there's a sticky backed thing that goes on the inside of the guitar for clipping the wires in, and we'll take advantage of that for sure to hold everything out of the way. And they gave us a little tie wrap in there as well. I've got 2 drill bits. The bigger one will be for, I've measured the piece for the pickup that needs to come through and lay underneath the saddle, and so this drill bit should work really well for that. And then the mounting screws for the stuff that's going in measured out about 84 thousandths, and the smallest drill bit that I could find was about 53 thousandths, so that's just going to have to be good enough, and I think it will be. So I'm going to go ahead and get some holes drilled here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the hole in the furthest, maybe the overhead would be better to show you. This is the saddle slot, and I'm going to put it as far as I can to the base side of the saddle. That's just, if you've pulled your saddle and looked at those under saddle, that's where most of those pickups come through. So that's just what I'm going to emulate, and probably going to block you at that angle. So let me go back here so you can, I guess, watch me drill a hole in the guitar. And I recommend, if you haven't done this kind of stuff before, You know, you don't want to do it on an expensive guitar. That drill bit's awfully wobbly. I don't know if I just don't have it in the drill correctly or if it's just bent. Let's see. Let's re-chuck it and see if that makes a difference. Yeah, it was wobbling quite a bit. That's better. And I'm not pushing, I'm just kind of letting the bit go through. I'm not pushing down at all. I'm just letting the weight of the drill kind of do its thing. We are almost there. All right, we are through. And again, you don't want to get in a hurry. Anything like that. You want to, and I'm going to just test the pickup down through this way. And it does go through there. It's really nice. Of course, it's got to get installed from the underside, so it's, you know, it's kind of just how that works. So let's see if I can. A little LED flashlight here doesn't want to work for me. I don't know if it's got a bad battery or if it's just, oh, there it goes. I don't know if the batteries are just running out or if the light itself is getting ready to go the way of the dodo bird. All right, fish that up through there, no problem. And then that'll just kind of fold underneath there, and that's all there is to that. I'm going to use the saddle to push it down, kind of hold it in place there, or form it, I guess. It's all right. That should be good. And again, this, we have to take the saddle down. I took some measurements. We had to do that anyway to adjust the string height, but that's good. Nice and snug in there. Down in the saddle slot really, really well. Maybe I can bring it up so you can see it there. Okay. So that little part of the deal is done. And this would be harder to do if you had a guitar that didn't have, you know, if it wasn't a dreadnought with a big hole in it, you know, because I can get my hand and my arm, you know, pull up my sleeve a little bit, but, you know, no problem getting in there to get the wires and all of that. So all right, that's kind of the drill. So you see that there's mounted really well. I need to make some pilot holes, put some screws in. I need to bring the wires out and plug everything together, clean up some wires and all of that, and then test it, and we should be good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and measure, take the saddle down. You've seen me do that on other videos. It's not a big deal with that. I'll just do a little bit of cleanup. When we come back, I will have it all mounted and we'll close out this video. All right, let me bring you back, just give you a quick little update, some stuff that I've done here. A little bit of work without you. Been taken down, working on getting the saddle. I did some measuring and took the saddle down quite a bit. I also did some cleanup, cleaned up the fretboard. I did the thing, and you've seen me do this before, where I took the razor blade and had a lot of crap and stuff built up on the fretboard, so I kind of scraped, cleaned that up. Looks really good. Oiled it, oiled the bridge, oiled the fretboard, and again for that I just used the linseed oil for that. I've got 2 strings on, and right now both strings are sitting at about 6 64s, and we still got plenty of, I don't know if you can see that, but got a nice beefy saddle there, so we still got to take off, and I've only got 2 strings on, and when I put the others on, the action will be even higher, so I for sure want to get, I just want to get in the ballpark before I put the rest of the strings on. Let me see if I can show you this, the install, which was the main part of this. If I can show you this, turned out really nice. Just from looking at it, I don't think you'd ever know that the guitar didn't ship with electronics in it. Everything's mounted. It's very straight. See if I can give you a shot of the back. Probably not a very good one at that with this camera angle. So there's that. Maybe get the back side. Maybe I can do that from this angle. Is that better? Not much, but kind of give you an idea what it looks like. As I go further toward that camera, I lose lighting, so but that'll give you at least an idea what that looks like. And so not much really to finish up on this guitar. I'm going to pull the saddle back out, and like I said, both at the 12th fret here, both strings are sitting at 6 64s, so I'm going to take the saddle back out. I'm going to loosen those 2 strings off, pull the saddle back out, and mark it, because I need to drop it. Again, I want to do for sure 5 and 4, and then I might even have to tweak it, pull it back out once all the other strings are on, because that kind of adds. I did give the guitar a really good clean as well while I had the strings off and all of that, just from cutting holes in the side of it and all that kind of stuff. Oh, excuse me. And I did find the right wrench, and truss rod moved like butter, so no problem there. I'm going to leave that out just in case we have to adjust the neck relief, but should be good. Just wanted to give you a quick little update. I'm going to pause you again and mess around getting this, drop this saddle down a bit more and kind of dial everything in as far as the setup goes, and when I come back we'll be finishing up this video. Alright, let me bring you back for just a few minutes. Excuse me. We'll finish out this video, and got the string action. Man, it is, and it's guitar's tuned. Of course, the strings are still stretching a little bit, but it's in tune. And when I measure at 12th fret, I've got right on 5, and then on the E, bottom E string, right on 4. So string action is really good, and I tested everything, and nothing's fretting out or anything like that, so we're in good shape there. Man, I barely got you in the video, don't I? All right, but we're in good shape. I gave it a good cleanup, and as I mentioned, I think in the last segment, I gave it a good cleanup, oiled the fretboard, oiled the bridge, and all of that, so we're in good shape. I did check, by the way, all the tuners, make sure everything was tight up there as well. So again, just want to double check everything. I'm going to check neck relief really quickly. So as you can see, the way I do it is I've got the capo on the 1st fret, and then I fret at the body joint there, and then I start at the 7th fret. So that's not bad. I'm using a 10,000ths feeler gauge, by the way, for neck relief. You know, I might actually give it a little bit of a tighten. Not much, just a little. And so again, you can loosen things under string tension, but you don't want to tighten. So I usually just give the tuners a couple of twists just to lower that tension a little bit, and then we can take the Allen wrench, and I've got the right size. It's important that you get the right size when you're doing stuff like this. You want the right sized Allen wrenches and screwdrivers and all that kind of stuff so you don't mess anything up. And I'm going to give it, if I did a quarter, that's a lot. Just a little bit. Tighten it up there. So let me see if I can retune here, and then we'll recheck that. So give me a second to retune. I'll be right back with you, and we'll recheck the neck relief and see how we're doing. All right, we're retuned. Put the capo back on at the 1st fret. Fret the body joint, and then see how we did. Yeah, I like that a lot better. I can feel I can hear the feeler gauge as well as feel it. Yeah, that's better. It needed that little bit of a tighten. Again, let me kind of show you. I can't really get a good view of the one on the underside, but it looks just as good. So bring that up a little closer to you. Looks like it was made to go in there, and let me plug it in. At least give you a little bit of it through the amp, I guess. But it's working pretty well. I would call that good. Good. Let me maybe just strum it a little bit so you can hear how it sounds. Sounds pretty good. Everything seems like it's working okay, so I'll probably take it over into my other room over there and actually plug it into the acoustic amp and make sure it's all good over there. But it all tested okay and everything like that, so I'm confident that it's okay. So I'm going to end this video. I've got, like I said, I got a few other things in the workshop. I'm going to get back on the old 37 Epiphone. I want to get that finished. I've got several dates scheduled acoustic gigs for myself after the first of the year, and I want to start using that guitar for those. So I'm going to get back on that, and some of you have been asking about that, so I'm going to get back on that and get that guitar done. I've figured out, I think, what I'm going to do for binding and all of that, and so I'm going to bring you along for that. But I just want to thank you for watching, and if you would, click the subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up, and all that kind of good stuff, and I'll see you next time in the workshop.